Okay, this is Sifu Brazil, SFG, known as the Iron Lohan. I have Mr. Harvey Pullinson here. He's helping out today with the demonstration. Today we're going to cover push-ups in general, because people neglect the quality needed when doing a push-up. They always focus too much on the numbers and not getting the range of motion. As you can see, Harvey's in a perfect plank starting position. His arms are locked, they're straight, they're not hyperextended. He should have his lat mildly engaged, and the weight should be focusing somewhat on the outside of his heel of his palms. What we look for when you're in a plank position is to have 3 points of contact. This knows you're in right. So if you get some sort of staff, you're gonna be able to tailbone, mid-back, and head. Now when he push-ups, okay, he generally can keep this. As long as he has 2 points of contact at this point, he's doing all right. When he comes up, he gets the third. So to do it again, okay, and he goes down, okay, and his abs are tight, and you keep your abs tight. So to maintain this proper position, he needs his abs tight, he needs his glutes mildly tight, he needs his whole body engaged. Push-ups is not just a chest exercise, it's a total body movement. So something to keep in mind. This is how you properly start. Now from here, if they're having trouble, do a really crummy one, sag your back. This is terrible, all right? This is just gonna mess you up over time. Terrible. It's really hard for him to do a terrible one now because he knows how to do it right. So now by doing it right, he can drop to his knees, modified, okay? He can still maintain this position and drops his hip. He can actually, this is perfectly fine, if he pushes his hips forward more a little bit and keep the abs tight, now he can keep the weight in the chest and go down and go up. This is still a perfectly acceptable, or if he had his, like this hinging going, this is fine as long as he keeps the weight in the chest. So when you push ups from there, this is perfectly fine. And this is something to look for in yourself, or maybe you have a client when doing push-ups before moving on to others, because if they can't handle this, they should have no business even doing push-ups on the floor. And there's half and fulls. So if he does a half push-up's like getting around a little more, this is the 90, this is the acceptable standard. Now go up. That's the acceptable standard. Now when he hits the floor, that is a full push-up. Now we're actually stretching out our triceps, we're stretching out the chest, and we come up. And this is gonna keep you away from odd imbalances and things to shoot for, okay? And that would be proper planking, something to look for. Use a staff, test yourself with it. All right. Okay, now when we talk about hand position, okay, everyone kind of goes to a go-to standard spot. This is kind of like your standard position where the elbows will flare out slightly and they go down. When changing your hand positions from outside and bringing them in, that's like adding, like if you're doing a bench press, that's like adding more weight to what you're doing. It increases the intensity. So a standard is once again here, but if you go a little wider, if you're having trouble, wider actually becomes a little easier, but you got to make sure you focus on squeezing the armpit when you do the drives up. And then as you get better, once you get proficient at understanding that, you slowly bring your hands in more. Now I'm in a standard, okay? I got my push-up. Now that becomes easy. I can do 50, whatever, 100. Doesn't matter, just until you feel comfortable. Now I bring them in close, all right? Then it gets harder in that position. Now at that point, to change the game plan on more leverage, more intensity, we move to what's called like an arrowhead or a diamond. Either one is perfectly acceptable, is the name. And you get these hands closer. Now we're in a more stronger leverage point, okay? As we push. That's what makes your push-ups harder. So when they get easier at certain points, you should be changing how you do your push-up. Like if you can do like 100 standard ones, move up to a different position on your push-ups. You should start be working on one-arm push-ups, things of those nature, where you can now drive down and up, trying to keep your chest parallel. It's all about the leverage. The hand positioning, furthermore, is now from here, most people will start off something like this. This is terrible. If they're getting push-ups like this, they're not really getting enough out of it like they should, and that's why they should drop to knees, I explained before. But to really get the most out of the push-up is not to be too shifted forward. That becomes extremely hard, which is advanced, or not too far back. You got to find that middle ground to where your hands are generally right under your shoulders, and when you go down, something to look for is if it's right by your armpit. So when you go down, they should be at your armpit, and then drive up. And by pushing on the outside of the heel of the palm will help engage your tricep to actually make the movements happen, getting more motion out of your push-up. Keep everything tight. I don't care, keep your abs tight, keep your quadriceps tight, keep your glutes tight, keep everything tight, keep your lat engaged. This is how you get benefit, because it's not about how many you can do over time, it's about how well you can do them, because as you get older, it's about that strength being maintained. But should you work on both? Fast twitch and slow twitch? Yes, fast twitch is when you're able to excel and do a lot, but you know, do them with quality. Don't, make sure you get full lockouts and full range down. So don't, I hate this where people do push-ups and they're just like, they're not even getting all the way down, they're not even getting the lockout, they're just pumping air and blood into their muscle. Eventually, over time, your joints will never get strong, and you're just gonna hurt yourself. There's gonna be no balancing at all. You're just gonna get stiff. There's no range of motion, no flexibility. Things to think about when doing a push-up. It's not just some plain old thing that people make you do to torture yourself. It's a very functional movement that there is no substitute for. There is no tool that can substitute it, so there's tons of gimmicky items out there. Just learn how to do a push-up right, and that'll change your life. Okay, luckily we're at a park today, and we have a nice park bench or table, bench and table to work with. So when you identify yourself having trouble with push-ups, like generally everyone always thinks that you have to be able to go to the ground, but what if you don't have the strength to be able to do them on the floor at all, like if you're on the ground? This is why you would use a park bench, a park table, okay? And the same thing applies with how wide your hands go and how you bring them in. So use these methods and play with them. But when you have trouble on the floor, yeah, you get high, make sure you get stiff, get straight, keep everything engaged. You should be on your tiptoes, something to keep in mind. And when you do your push-ups, okay, you should feel your armpits squeezing. Try to keep that 3 points of contact. So always keep yourself in check, get your eyes forward as you do the motion. When that becomes easy, you're able to do, I don't know, up to 50 or so. It doesn't really matter, it's about being comfortable. Then you move to a bench in general. So, you know, you might need to move over. So now you're at a lower, this increases the intensity. Just make sure, of course, when you're using a park table, you don't hit your head. So make sure you keep that in mind when you do this. You'll find that there are so many tools anywhere to use. I mean, you could be out hiking, there's big boulders, you could use that. If you're in calisthenic areas, sometimes they have like ledges or like the little small fences. You can use all of these things. But if you're at a park, I mean, just the park table and bench work extremely well. And like I said, if you're having trouble on the floor, this is what you move to, because this eventually will get you to the floor and you can really start working on the push-ups. There's something else to think about when you're talking about fast twitch, like I said earlier, is applying a push. This is something that will help you as well as understand kind of like more fast twitch function, like a plyometric. And this is a great thing to start on if you're having really trouble with the floor. You just do this stuff on a park bench, park table. Stuff will help a lot. Thank you much. Share, like, subscribe, check the park out. It's beautiful.
Hector, I've taught you for 3 years, instructing you in my poison clan techniques. Yes, I must tell you that the clan is a danger to the public. We live here in seclusion, so we can talk about the poison clan.